We continue to look at Albrecht Dürer's messer and dagger techniques.
This is the Kitsune clan, a group of sword enthusiasts who like cosplay, reenactment, and historical martial arts. If you have similar interests, feel welcomed.
In one of our last videos, we further explored Albrecht Dürer's Fechtbuch concerning Messerfechten, and we found that he had techniques where we would use the messer in the right hand and a dagger in the left hand against an attacker with a messer. We introduced already that there are 3 plays depicted, and we discussed already the first 2 of these plays. The third one is a bit tricky to understand, because if I look at the depiction, I'm not entirely sure whether my messer is behind the messer of the opponent or in front of it. And depending on this direction, this will be a figure 4 disarm or a chicken wing disarm. Usually I can tell that from the way the arm is bent, but the awkward way the arm is shown here, I'm still not sure. So I will simply discuss both interpretations. One of them will exactly fit the original intention. The other one is then something like a bonus. Number 1, we have an attacker attacking either angle 1 or angle 3. We redirect with our messer downwards in a circle motion, so in an anti-clockwise motion. We now take our dagger, which is held here in normal hold, not in reverse hold, and lock it between the hand and the messer of the opponent. This fixes this position as a rotational point. If we now push further with our own messer, we will disarm the opponent in an anti-clockwise, meaning figure 4 type manner. I really like this type of disarm. It's very dynamic, and you can see you can easily disarm and throw the knife of the opponent. So messer means knife, don't forget that, while disarming the opponent. I think this is in fact the more likely interpretation. We have seen that in Albrecht Dürer's Fechtbuch we have chicken wing disarms, but the majority are figure 4 type of disarms, so anti-clockwise motion for disarming, and we see the same here. Especially if we look at the other technique where we have a disarm with messer and dagger, so check the last video, I'll link it in the description box. There we also had this type of motion. It's in principle a circle 1 type left hand motion, and this one here is not different if we look at it mechanically from the left hand side. It's just that we are not in reverse hold as with the second play, but we are in normal hold. If I have 2 weapons and both of them in normal hold, I can do a lot of different disarms. We have demonstrated that with other types of weapons, for example with katana and wakizashi. I will also link this video in the description box. There you can have a comparison. In the alternative interpretation, the attacker would attack in angle 2. We would use the messer to displace the attack downwards. Again, use our dagger from the left side, place it between the hand of the opponent and the messer of the opponent, and now push with our messer in a clockwise manner. Therefore, this is a chicken wing disarm. Also works perfectly fine, also is easy, also gives us a lot of control, and is also possible with, for example, wakizashi and katana. Check the other video. We have seen a very similar type of disarm already among the Dürer plays. I'll link the other play as well, where we used the left hand in the same way we use here the dagger, grabbing the flat side of the messer, locking it by this, and then attacking with the right hand. Here, going further into a disarm. I consider this as less likely interpretation, as I said, because I think there seems to be a preference towards the figure 4 types of disarms. But if I look at the images and the information provided, I think both of them are likely, or at least possible. The interesting thing is now we have pointed out that, for example, for the figure 4s, we find 4 different principles used with the messer. With messer and dagger, we are now very, very limited. We only have these 3 plays, and the first one looks very, very incomplete. Depending on the interpretation of the third one, we would have 2 times a figure 4 type disarm, and in fact even the same basic mechanics of the figure 4 type disarm. On the other hand, we can see that these three already outline basically three different tactics. The first play would use the second weapon to attack while the other one is still in bind, and it also demonstrates that the dagger can be used to shield off the messer hand. In the second play, the opponent's messer was not only kept in bind, but it was locked or potentially even disarmed, while the right hand became free to attack. In the third play, both weapons are used for disarming and controlling the blade of the opponent. So although you can argue that this is a very limited view, it in fact transports quite some information. It's a bit of the opposite as what we saw with the Talhoffer Fechtbooks. There we basically had only two techniques that were used over and over in different situations, different angles, different exact type of armament. Here we have three techniques depicted on a single page that outline three principal tactics. And with the knowledge that we have from the other Messerfechten techniques, we can of course derive further possible techniques. We will also do that in some future videos. Probably we have to use also some knowledge from other martial arts here, but we should first have more of a comparison between these techniques and the other martial arts. As we pointed out in the last video, one very important point here is that the two weapons are functionally different in the sense of the dagger does other things than the messer. We in theory have that also in other martial arts, that we have weapons with two quite different functions, one in one hand, one in the other hand, but it's in fact rare. There's a lot of theory about dual wielding, and some people have pointed out that it would make more sense to have a long and a short weapon as we see it in Espada y daga, in rapier and dagger, in wakizashi and katana, and also here. On the other hand, we have plenty of examples like in a lot of Chinese styles and also in a lot of Okinawan styles where we see the use of two similar weapons. And if we, for example, look at FMA, Filipino martial arts, double stick is not using the Espada y daga principle. It uses two weapons of the same length. So that's always the question, is that strategy or is that training? There are definitely martial arts that prefer to have two similar types of weapons, but I have not found any indications that we have anything in late medieval or early modern times where people would use two messers or two daggers. In fact, two daggers should be a possibility after, for example, disarming the opponent, but I've not seen clear depictions where people would use two daggers. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I will also have a deeper look into that again. With that, we are still not yet entirely finished with the Messerfechten in Dürer, because besides some of the complex techniques, he shows something special again. That's what we will deal with in one of our next videos. For the moment, we hope we could inspire you, and we hope to see you around next time.